Okay, good morning again. This is Rabbi Shlomo First here at Yeshiva Tsama Nafshi. This is our fourth shir in the morning. I'm temporarily substituting for Rabbi Ruben Levitt, who's taking care of some important business in Yeshiva. This is our Gemora shir. We're in Gemora in Bava Kamma, Daf Mem Zayin Amid Aleph, the Mishnah toward the bottom of the Daf. Let's take a look at the Mishnah. We'll go through it slowly. Any volunteers to read? Good morning.
Oh, good morning. So nice to see everybody.
Likewise. You like to see us, we'd like to see you also.
Well, it's a lovely greeting in here.
This is the corn chips.
Oh,
be careful, you're standing in the way of the fan.
Yeah. That's another sarcasm you gotta do.
You want to immortalize your back.
Is that?
You want to immortalize your back.
Immortalized?
Your back.
No. You got my back? Oh my God, air conditioning in here?
No, the camera is talking.
Oh.
You're being recorded. It's on record. Okay, yeah.
What do I do?
Here, should have something there, no? Yeah, how about the Mishnah? Any volunteers?
Kader shechnis kaderatan chatzer balabayit shelo berushin. So you have a pot on it. He brings his pots into the courtyard of a homeowner. Shelo berushin, without permission. The shavra the hemto shel balabayit potter. So the pots get broken. The homeowner's animal breaks the pots. The balabayit would be potter from having to pay the nezik on the pots because he brought them in without, he told you to bring your pots in without my permission. I don't have to watch out for your pots now all of a sudden.
Right.
Make it harder on me. The im huskaha behen baal hakadero, and if somebody's getting damaged, the balabayit gets damaged by those pots. He injures himself on those pots that the guy put in there.
Right, meaning if the
homeowner gets it's now the pots get broken, and he doesn't have to pay for the pot. In addition to that, he hurt himself on those pots. Now it's chayiv. The potter is chayiv to pay for the damage that he did to this homeowner by putting that dangerous obstacle.
Right. Maybe it's the balabayis, or maybe it's the cow, the shore, the animal, the balabayis.
Right, because it's the animal.
Yeah,
who's the animal?
Who's caught? I think that's feminine, right?
So you're talking about the behemoth. You're talking about the animal. So the animal gets damaged by these pots.
Right.
The pots broke. The animal broke. The pot's tough. And if the animal gets injured, then he has to pay for the nezik on the animal.
Right. Now, what if the owner, the balabayis, got hurt? Would the halach be the same? I don't know. Right. Let's say the balabayis came out and he slipped and he hurt himself on the pots. I don't know. We'll keep that on the side for the time being. Okay, let's continue.
That's case 1.
Case number 1, correct.
Case number 2. Say a little bit different here. Now he had permission to come in. The balabayit says, "Hey, you're allowed to come in with his pots."
Yes.
In this case, he's chayiv. And chayiv means if he breaks, this is the same kind of situation. Means if the pots get broken, the balabayit has to watch out for the pots because you told him he couldn't with those pots. So the balabayit has to really watch out for it. If he doesn't watch out for it, he'd be chayiv for breaking those pots.
Right. So if the animal of the balabayis breaks the pots that were brought in with the shush, with permission, the balabayis will have to make good for the damage that his animal made and did to the pots. Okay, because he gave permission. Okay.
Next case.
Okay.
If these peiroteha lechatza balabayit Shalom Rishon. So now we have a different case. Guy came, brought his fruits into the courtyard of a homeowner without permission.
Okay, so just to review, the first case about bringing the pots in, there's a reisha and a sefer in the first case. There's a reisha where he brought the pots in without rishus, and a sefer, second case in the first case of the Mishnah with the pots, where he brought the pots in with rishus. So the first case is the case of pots, and there's a permissible entrance and a unauthorized entrance. Okay. Now we have a second case. We brought fruits in. The first case was pots. Now we're bringing in fruits.
Okay. Here the animal sees these wonderful fruits there, and he eats them up.
Right.
So he's potter. You didn't bring him in with permission. You know, that's your problem that you trespass. Therefore, if my animal eats it, too bad. You lost my animal. Enjoy those fruits that you brought in. Okay, which is a question you could ask right away is, why do I need to even state the second case if I don't look at that? Why, if it's the same ruling from this, why do I have to learn it from why can't I just learn this style from the pottery? Why didn't mention the fruits case?
Good. We're going to have to understand why there was another case. What's unique about the case of the fruits?
Yeah. Right? Okay, because also it's interesting in this case because one of the things that's different than it is, we have the animal would be more likely to eat than break possible. You know, achaltas are more of a normal thing.
Okay.
That's part of the situation. And also what happens if he damages the fruits and doesn't eat it. It's not talking about that case. It's only the eating case. What's special about the eating case? Why eating
he
only?
Steps on them.
He steps on it and proves it. Is he responsible then? Only because he's eating them. I don't know.
Oh, so very good. We can add on to that exactly. If this case of hitness perus of the cuts of balbash lebushus, he brought his fruits into the courtyard, the domain of the householder without rishus, and the householder's animal ate them up, he's putter. So if he stepped on them and damaged them, that would be apparently the same exact case as the pots. The chiddush could be that the fact that he ate them in his putter, I could tell you that, look,
the animal's getting benefit from you.
You got a free lunch. You got yourself a free lunch for your animal here, right? Meaning that would be a chiddush to say, in spite of the fact that the animal was nene and the balabayas was nene. I mean, he saved the money instead of now having to feed his animal, right, the fruits for lunch, right?
It's not a balabayas. It's a balabayas. Yeah.
Yeah, the balabayas is putter. So I would, if I brought my fruits in without rishus, I'd say, well, okay, I did wrong. I came in without rishus. If it stepped on them and did damage, so it's like the case of the potter, right? He's putter, so if he did damage, whether he was stepping on them and breaking the pot, so stepping on the fruits, he should be putter as well. But he's getting benefit. The animal's getting benefit from it. The Gemora is going to talk about it, if I'm not mistaken, a case. Let's say it ate fruits that were not to its benefit. It gave him a sickness. It was not its diet. Shouldn't have eaten these things. When you go to the zoo, it says don't feed the animals. If you want to buy the little pellets, you can buy the pellets and give them the animal food. But if you start giving them bananas and roast beef sandwiches.
Some people think those signs mean feed the animals all the time. They don't really mean that.
They don't mean me. My food's kosher, I can give the animals. Yeah. So we're going to see a case in the Gemora. We'll get to it, Bezrat Hashem. Rabbi Lev will get to it. Where he put in poisonous fruits and he killed the animal. So the fruits does have a different dimension of the animal getting hana, or could, if it's not its diet or it's poisonous fruits, causing it damage, right? That the case of the pots doesn't have. So that could be one of the reasons why you have another case of fruits. Okay. In the meantime, let's go weiter simply with just looking at the basic Mishnah. Go ahead.
I had to think about it. I don't know if you take kids to the zoo.
This one, Yerushalyim.
There was sometimes they run these tours, these sunset evening type things.
Oh yeah.
So it's special guided tour type thing, not just go in and see the animal. So you go in. We did it one time when the animals they were doing was with the elephants. So you go into the cages where they bring the elephants in at the end of the day, and they do their nails, they show them the meals, they feed them there inside that. And then we get to go in after the animals are into their pens. Then they give us these peanuts to hide around for them, so that the following morning they come in. That's how they go find them out. We play, in around. Interesting thing.
How do you get on those tours?
This was on the website. You can call up the zoo. I don't know what they are now. How it was? Not this year, but they have other tours like that.
Interesting.
To call up, make a reservation for the kids to take the family.
Nice idea.
And it was different animals, different days.
Yeah, okay.
Different sections that you go to.
Okay, very nice. Nice idea. Very good, thank you.
Anyway, so we're up to, now
The second
case of the Sefer of that is if he chnis perito lachatzer, so we did that. Now it's im chuska, no, this is still part of the ratio. Im chuska is still without permission. Again, huska behen baal payroll chayim. If the guy gets damaged, the guy who brings the fruits in.
Again, I think it's the animal.
The animal gets damaged,
right?
On
the fruits. If the animal of the balabais got damaged on the fruits,
it's high for making it a dangerous situation that he's going to slip on these rotten fruits that you brought in.
Right.
His animals.
Right.
Okay. And we didn't have the Sefer of that. Now, if you have permission to come in, all bets are off. He is chayiv because you had permission to come in, so therefore he's sort of taking some responsibility. And he's not going to let the. He's not free because he told him to come in, so therefore.
Once he is around, once he's given permission, so then he's chayiv. Okay. Now, that's the middle case, right? Now.
So that applies to both?
What? Which statement?
The fact that if there's permission, the owner of the courtyard is liable. Does that apply both if the animal ate it and the animal was damaged?
Apparently, yeah. That would be in all cases if the owner gave the person whose animal came in, he had the surest permission, then it'd be chayiv in both cases, whether damage or in injury.
Okay.
No, it's his own animal that's getting damaged.
Yeah, pardon?
His own animal is getting damaged. So it's only himself that's lost. The other case, though, the first case is a question where he's eating up the other guy's fruits. So in a sense, he'd have to reverse him for those fruits. In the second case, it's his animal that's getting damaged.
Right.
So he hasn't reversed himself necessarily.
But I'm presuming that if the reverse applies. If the animal stepped on the produce,
Right.
that would be the safer. Then the owner would be liable to pay for the produce, whether the animal ate the produce or the animal stepped on it.
Well, I'll tell you. Here, we're just talking about again. Look at this middle case. Heknis peirosav lechatzir balabais shalom rishus. He brought fruits into the courtyard of the owner without permission. Now, v'echaltam behemto shel balabais, but if the animal of the owner ate them, he's potter. V'im hisku vehem baal haperus chayiv. And if the animal of the owner got damaged on those fruits, he, the owner of the fruits, would be chayiv. Im hiknas b'rishus, he brought them in with permission, baal hachatzir chayiv. If he came in with rishus, then the baal habayis owner would be chayiv. For what? The first case would be the last case mentioned, right? That if he got damaged, the animal on the fruits of the person who came in with rishus. So those fruits that were damaged through the fall of the animal, those would have to be paid. And also, if he ate them, he'd also have to pay for those.
Okay.
In both cases. Now, what if he simply damaged them? So that's not specifically spoken about, but the Torah will be the same thing. You know, worse than eating them.
Right.
apparently.
Although you could say it is worse because the fact that the animal would eat the produce is something that can be predicted, and therefore you might say he has a greater responsibility to protect against it. The fact that the act of slipping on the produce is much less likely. And maybe you'd say that, well, he's not expected to be liable for that. He's not expected to prepare for that because it's so unlikely.
Are we saying that the owner knows that the animal was brought in, or doesn't know? The owner is home, the owner is not home. And if he does know or doesn't know, it makes a difference.
Well, it says with permission, so doesn't that mean
without permission. Without permission scenario. Does the owner know or not know?
I don't know.
Does it make a difference?
Maybe not. As long as if he doesn't know, I think the primary consideration is whether there's permission or not. Could the let's say the potter, right? The potter brought in his pots without permission. The animal went and destroyed them. Could the potter claim to the owner of the cow, look, I saw you, you saw I put them in here. You saw I put them in here. Would that be a valid claim?
I would think not.
Why not?
Because he didn't give permission, regardless of whether he saw it or not. The central thing is he didn't say it's okay.
But that gives you a right to have your animal destroy my things? Look, I did something. Two wrongs don't make a right, you know.
I didn't tell the animal to destroy your things. It was an accident.
Well, so let's take care of your animal. Don't let him destroy things, you know.
My courtyard.
Gee,
Don't come into my courtyard and tell me how to.
You're right, I'm sorry. I did right. I'm sorry, but I want my money. I want your money, bro. Your animal broke. You admit your animal broke my stuff.
you saw I had
That's
it.
the big machlokas that you're going to have. Should somebody, just because somebody pops in without permission, does it require some guarding if you do see it? If you do see it, is there an implicit guarding, knowing because you saw it, and you're going to see that the animal is going to do this? So you should say, hey, Bessie, or whatever it is, don't go there. You know, is that the little cow? Elmer, or whatever it was, right?
Elsie.
Elsie, don't do this, Elsie. You know, that type of thing. Because you see Elsie's doing it, so because it's a one thing the person got in. Okay, the person got permission again, but once the person got permission in, what's the situation? Should you stop it from happening just as a natural course of things, or you could say, I don't care, Elsie, you can do whatever you want because that person came in without permission.
Right.
That's a question.
Yeah.
With knowledge of it. Without knowledge, then it's sort of an ominous situation because you didn't know, and you had no knowledge of it. With knowledge of it, should you have stopped it then?
Right. Good. Look, just taking it at face value, it says chayev or potter. If he's potter, he's potter. That's it. Potter. You have a claim. You know. Let's say you prove that let's say it's a case, not a cow. Let's say you didn't bring in pots. You brought in your little guinea pigs. You have your we breed guinea pigs, and I have cats, right? So you know what the cats are going to do to the guinea pigs,
Oh yeah.
right? And you stand by and watch the cats devour the guinea pigs, right?
But the person who brought them in knows that he's got an ox or knows he's got the cats.
Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. You know, he just
Maybe he doesn't know. He didn't see the cats.
I don't know. Well, he knows one thing. He doesn't know. He doesn't have rishus to come in there. That's one thing he knows. Right? No trespassing. And he brought his guinea pigs in. You know, whatever. He had to have in Meyer. He has 2 big cages of guinea pigs. Right? And he brings them in, puts them down there. There's no trespassing. Comes back and says, all the guinea pigs. He says, I keep cats in this place here. Well, cats like guinea pigs.
You can even go the other extreme. Even if he has permission, but does that mean the owner accepted responsibility?
Oh, so that'll be the part of the Gemora's question.
Right.
By giving permission, does that imply what we call Hivu Shmira, obligation of guardianship?
So there's an argument that says not only he knows it, but he gave permission, and still he's not liable.
Right.
There's three scenarios.
Do we connect this with Shmira?
So this will be connected with Shmira, exactly. Because again, a person has in general, what type of obligation does a person have that his belongings, his in this case, let's say his livestock, shouldn't do damage to somebody else's belongings?
What depends whether it's own home or in the Yeshiva group.
Well, in our case, we're talking about his own property. This is his own property. So, let's continue. Now that was the middle case. The case of the pears, the fruits, was the middle case. Now we're going to talk about the third and final case. It brings in Hikni, that's the bottom line, middle of the bottom line. Hikni Shuro.
That's not too smart. Bringing his oxen without permission. You know, bringing an oxen is going to be that could be a bigger problem. You know,
Okay,
the other thing, his oxen go out and do other things.
Yeah, right.
Now, Noachu Shoro shall buy a buy. So his ox gores the Balabayit's ox.
Or the other way around.
Naku Shuro Shabbos.
Okay.
That
The Balabayit, yes, is the Balabayit guy now. The shore of the Balabayit now gores him. Or Shinashchu Kalbo. Now, shall Balabayit. Now here we wait a second. We're biting the dog of the Balabayit. No, this is the.
yeah, your
No,
house
but this is what we said. It's the ox he brought in that's goring the Balabayit's ox.
Yeah. So this is a little bit funny. So again, he brought in the Hikni Shuro L'Chatzis Balabayis Shelo Brushos. So now what happened? But Naku Shuro Balabayis, it got the trespassing ox got gored by the shore of the Balabayis.
Okay, sure that.
Or
He got bitten by the dog of the Balabayis.
Right. Or the trespassing ox got bitten by the dog of the Balabayis.
Then he's putter. The Balabayis is putter because he's joining your ox without permission. It's your problem. You shouldn't want. You put it into a dangerous situation, so therefore I'm off the hook.
Right.
Now, Noga Hu Shor Shor Balabayis, and if his ox did gore the ox of the Balabayis, he would be chayiv.
Well,
His ox should have been washed if you brought him in without permission. This happened.
right. Okay, so again, this last third case has many more different cases than the first two cases. The first two cases were basically the same. Here it's breaking down into different cases. You have one case with the shore got gored by a shore, got gored by a dog. And what's the difference if it was a shore or a keller? Why do we have to have a case of a dog as well? Right? Legally.
Thank you.
Oh, let's continue.
Okay. Well, we have more happening.
Oh yeah,
Nafal Boro Havish my north. So this ox that he brought in fell into the well and polluted the waters in the well.
right.
It made the well unusable because of the dirty ox falling into my clean water well.
Right, had a well for water, drinking water. Now it's
He's chayiv, because you ruined his chayiv. It's kind of the same way again. The chayiv is, we're talking again, the guy who brought the oxen.
yes,
He's chayiv because he ruined, he damaged the guy's property.
correct. Right, the trespasser, right?
And if there was haya aviv or beno l'tocho, so now we're making this case even worse. His father or his son was in that well, inside of it. In Mishalem at the kofa, he has to he has to pay, and he kills him. He's responsible for paying kofa
Okay.
because he killed the person.
Right.
All without permission.
Right. This is when he came in and was trespassing without permission.
Rebbe, last line of the Mishnah. Rebbe. What's Rebbe have to say? Rebbe Omer, Kulan enu chayav ad shikabel olav ishmor.
So then he says, all of them. And the question is, what does the all refer to? Because we've just gone through
Yeah.
3 cases, and the last case had lots of cases. He's not chayiv. We're talking about the Baal. He's not chayiv. He came with the shoes. Ad shikabel olav, because he took permission on it that he was going to. He had to make a specific item that he was going to be guarded. If he wasn't going to guard it, then he wasn't going to take responsibility. Then he shouldn't really have responsibility. He has to have this intentional idea of his guarding.
All the cases of the
Which
Mishnah.
means if he didn't, this is odd shikibel, means if he didn't take on the responsibility, he would be chayav, even though he came in with permission.
Okay.
I'm presuming that means that every time it says that the homeowner is chayav, Rabbi would say no, he's not.
That's where the
It's if without permission.
that's a question because we don't know what the kulan means. Does the kulan mean
Right.
only the kulan of every single case, or the kulan of all the things mentioned in the last case only? How far does the Rebbe stick up to?
Right, I'm suggesting that it
Applies
applies
to
to everything.
Who's the one that made damage?
It's independent upon the cases. There were 4 different cases. The first case was a potter who brought in his things, and the case that we're talking about is that how the damage can happen is he breaks the pot and he gets damaged on it.
Who breaks the pot?
The animal.
Yeah, some of the animals breaks the
The
pot.
animal that is owned by the homeowner.
Oh, so the homeowner does damage to somebody that comes in.
Right.
Right.
But
He came in without permission.
No, came in with permission.
Came in
These
with
cases are
permission.
talking about with permission.
Even though he came in with permission, the homeowner is not liable for the damage that's caused unless he, Rebbe says, accepts upon himself responsibility to watch the things that the person that he allowed to come into his premises does. Okay.
Or at least for his own things, from doing damage to his own things. He got his own animal from doing damage to things.
Same thing. What's the difference? He's responsible not only for his own damage that he causes, he's responsible for things that his animal does. Sure. Okay. And the Kamma disagrees with this, Tanir. What does the Kamma hold? That he doesn't have to accept upon himself specifically, the owner, any responsibility.
Right, just, he says that by the act of giving permission,
To come into his premises,
he implicitly accepts responsibility.
he's going to be liable for he's in other words, right. He's got an obligation to whoever he allows to come into his premises to guard that no hezek happens to them. Okay, good. So let's see the Gemora then. Who wants to read the Gemora? Tsama.
I'll read.
Okay. Who's going to read?
The reason. Tishalo b'reshus. The reason is that it's not with permission. Ha b'reshus, but if there was permission, lo michayev bal kederos b'niskei b'hemto de bal chatzer. The owner of the pots is not liable for damage to the animal of the owner of the courtyard. So if there was permission, then the owner of the pots would not be liable if the animal gets damaged, says the Gemora.
So I thought we were talking about damage caused by the owner of the premises. Now you're explaining that the Gemora is talking about the damage caused by the one who enters the premises.
Right. The animal goes and steps on the pots and cuts himself.
Okay.
So if there is no permission, then there's liability from the owner of the pots, implying that there was permission, that he would not be liable.
Kamma b'shelo b'reshus. The reason that he's the one who brought in the things that damaged the animal. Oh, the animal's owned by the owner of the premises.
Right.
And the one who enters has property and it caused damage to the property of the owner of the premises.
Right.
So what's the din in that? What's the din according to the Mishnah? Is the person is he liable? He's liable for the damage?
He's liable if there is no permission.
The reason that he's liable is because he came in without permission altogether, this guy.
Right.
Oh. Well, Rishus, but if he came in with permission, he won't be liable for the damage that his property causes to the property of the owner of the premises. Okay, interesting. See Rashi. Tsama b'shelo b'reshus. Can I read it? The first,
Yes, I can find it.
it's the first one on the Gemora.
Second, so what base? Second line.
Second line. Oh, time, got it. Time dishlo b'reshus. Reason because there's not permission. Mishum haki, because of this, im ha huska, if they were damaged by him, by them, bal kediros kayev, the owner of the vessels is obligated.
Right? And Huska is referring to the animal that's owned by the Baal Chutzner. In Huska, if the animal owned by the Baal Chutzner is injured, bahem, on them, meaning on the property, the kederos, the pots of the owner of the pots that's coming in without permission, the owner of the pots will be liable for any damage that is done to the animal of the Chutzner.
Which one? Isn't that Pshita? What's Rashi telling us? Isn't that explicitly what the Mishnah says?
Where does the Mishnah say this explicitly?
Oh, it doesn't say time. I see. I see. It's
HaKodesh Hiknisa
over time
also
this.
Chosser Balabais Shlo Rishus V'Shavra Behem Torah.
It's almost trying to ask the question, and that's the whole point, of why is the Mishnah saying it the other way around? Shouldn't you be able to normally infer one from the other just by the statement? Think about it, once you said...
Infer what from what?
The Birshus situation, the E-Rishus situation from the below Rishus. Once you're given a ruling that says Shaloba Rishus, it's this, then automatically it should seem that if you had the Rishus, you wouldn't have that ruling. So if you're not going to have that ruling, why am I going further with it? What's happening? It has to be something new. So the Chiddush is saying the second case, saying that, so to speak, is safer from a Reisha of that. Otherwise, you could infer the Reisha safer directly from the Reisha. If you came in with Rishus, of course it's going to be Chayav. So you have to be something coming out of that.
Where's Medayik on the fact that the Mishnah said Shalom Rishus came in below Rishus?
Which is what it says.
That's the reason for the din of Chayk. So if he wouldn't, so the diuk is that if he came in with Rishus, he would not be Chayk. Yeah. Okay. The Gemora is continuing with its point, though.
Lo and Rinon, we do not say kabule kabio bal kederos ne tirusa di hemto. He certainly accepted the master of the pots.
Lo Amrin.
We don't say.
We do not say
that the owner of the pots accepted guarding the animal. We don't say that he accepted guarding the animal in the case where there was permission, because we say that he's not liable. If he accepted guarding the animal, then we would say he is liable.
So he comes in with Rishus, he's going to be exempt. The Gemara says, what?
And we don't say that he's responsible to guard the animal.
We don't say...
We might say that. We might say, well, look, you came in with permission, and you know there's an ox there, and therefore you took responsibility for the ox.
Right.
We don't say that.
Right.
Money. Mani. Whose opinion is this? Rabbihi de Amar. It's the opinion of Rebbe, who said, Kol Tsama, any plain situation, or not specified, Lo Kabio Ale Ha Netirusa. He does not accept upon himself the obligation for guarding. The Rebbe says if nothing is said, we don't assume that obligation for guarding is accepted. So that would be like, and that's what Rebbe says in the end of the Gemora. He says in every case, if he didn't take responsibility. What?
Okay, local
Into the Mishnah.
Into the Mishnah. Yeah.
It's a bit different though, because here Rebbe's talking about the owner of the premises accepting upon himself responsibility to watch the person that he allowed in with permission.
Right,
Here, we're not talking about that at all.
right,
We're talking about the one who enters with permission.
right.
What's the? It's a bit of a jump. Okay, or is jumping?
Different case. Okay, in the Seifa. So let's talk about the latter part.
Let's Phil too.
Pardon?
You want to read, Phil?
I just read this before.
Oh, you just read.
I
Okay.
read the whole Mishnah.
Oh, you've been reading the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Okay. Roy, did you want to read? Roy doesn't want to read. Don't be bashful, Roy.
Come on, Roy. We want to hear your sweet voice.
Name of Sefer.
And now consider the latter part of the clause. This Meshus he brought his pots into the courtyard with the owner's permission, and they were broken. The owner of the courtyard is liable.
That's what it says in the Sefer. Oh, before you get to Rebbe, in other words.
Way before.
Rebbe is at the end then.
There's three parts to the Mishnah, not including Rebbe.
Okay.
And this is taking the first part and dividing it into half, saying the Resha and the Seifa of the first part.
Okay. Okay, so it says that in the Sefer of this case that we brought, if he comes in Hiknis is causative.
Oh,
Hiknis is causative. In other words, the owner of the premises is Machnis, brings in the what do you call it? The Kadar, the potter, with permission. So now the potter is granted permission to enter the premises of the Baal HaChatzer with all of his pots, I guess. And now Baal HaChatzer, what? Did you read the rest, Roy? Baal HaChatzer Chai. The Baal HaChatzer is going to be chayiv for what? What did the Baal HaChatzer do?
So if he brought the pots into the courtyard with permission, and they were broken, the owner of the courtyard is liable. And here we have arrived at the opinion of the rabbis who say that this is Tsama.
One second, please. What happened over here? Baal HaChatzer chayiv for what? What happened? What did he do? He caused damage, I guess, to the Baal the Kadar, the potter. Some damage was caused by the one that allowed the potter to come into the premises, and we say that he's liable for that damage that was caused. Okay? So the Gemora says, Aslan the Rabbanan. That goes like the Rabbanan. Doesn't go like Rebbe. Why? Or it goes like the Rabbanan, the Amrei, who they say, the Rabbanan say,
This is Tsama.
Tsama, Nami.
Even if the matter of responsibility is not specified, Ulay, Kabil, Olay, Mitzvah.
Right.
By consenting that something to be brought into his domain, one surely accepts upon himself the obligation of guarding it from damage.
That's the point. So that's the issue over here. That's the nakuda of the machlokes between Rebbe and Rabbanan. They both agree that if the guy comes in without permission, So hey, the owner of the chutzner, he's not liable for any damage that's suffered by the guy that came in without permission. They both agree on that. That's no machlokes. The machlokes is what happens if the owner of the premises allows the guy to come in. He brings him in to the premises. So has he also accepted upon himself? He's also now responsible to guard to see that no damage happens to the one that he granted permission to? Or can he say, well, I didn't just allowed him to come in. I didn't say that I would protect that he doesn't get injured. That's the machlokes between Rebbe and Rabbanan. Rabbanan say that even if he doesn't accept upon himself responsibility, he's going to nevertheless be liable for any damage that he or his property caused to the guy that he allowed to come in with permission. And Rebbe says no.
Wouldn't there be a machlokes in the Reisha also? Because in the Reisha we're saying if he didn't have permission, he's liable.
Right.
Why? Because we assume that he accepted responsibility, according to Rebbe. But the rabbis would say he didn't accept responsibility, well, therefore he's not liable.
The Rebbe say because I think Rebbe say he's never chai until he accepts the responsibility.
Right? What do the rabbis say?
The rabbis say once you say it's a second step. It's not just with reshus. It's reshus and responsibility for guarding. They have to do two things in order for the balance.
Just the fact that he allows him to come in, according to Rabbanan, doesn't mean that he's going to be responsible to guard him from getting injured.
The guarding.
Here we see he brought him in with reshus.
That's the Reisha. I mean, that's the Seifa.
That's the Seifa.
What about the Reisha?
In the ratio, they could both agree that he's coming without reshus, so therefore he'd always be covered because he came without permission.
Gemora was
he came in without permission. Once he comes in without permission, he should totally be covered.
Gemora was medayik in the Reisha.
So
The reason why he's liable is because he came in without reshus.
Where it says we do not say that the owner of the pots accepted guarding the landlord's animal. Right? Why? Because that's Rebbe's opinion. But what do the rabbis say? The rabbis might say that he does accept, by the action of coming into the courtyard, he accepts responsibility for the owner's animal.
Now what the Gemora is doing over here, you have to understand what the Gemora is doing over here. The Reisha and the Seifa it's not mentioned who is the author of the Reisha or the Seifa of this Mishnah.
Right?
So the assumption is, according to the way the Mishnah orders itself, that it should be the same opinion.
Right.
If it's going to be a different opinion, so then you have to tell me, oh, that's a different opinion than what we got saying in the Reisha. That's the opinion of somebody else. Oh, so you'll say, Rebbe says thus and such. But if it doesn't say anything, so we have a right to assume, and we do assume, that it's the same opinion. So the Gemara is pointing out a contradiction over here between the Reisha and the Seifa.
Because the Reisha is Rebbe's opinion, and the Seifa is the rabbi's opinion.
Yeah, so that's the difficulty that the Gemara is raising over here with the Mishnah.
Right.
That's the okay. Shkoya.
Continue it on.
Nice seeing you again,
Go
Phil.
back, you go.
Have a great day.
There's a 17 tomorrow.
Yeah. Keep cool.
It's 32 minutes.
It's warm out there. Already. Okay. So. Yeah. Now the Gemora asks another question. The Sue. And furthermore, we have another point to raise, says the Gemora. The Sue. Oh, I'm sorry, you read it. Okay, the Sue. And furthermore, Rebbe Omer Yechuvan Eino Chayiv Ad Sheyikabel Alav
Baal Habayis Lishmor. Rebbe says that in all cases, there's no liability until the owner of the courtyard accepts upon himself obligation to guard. Reisha is the Seifa Rebbe. So the Reisha and the Seifa are Rebbe. Umitzi Asa Rabbanan. And the middle is the rabbis. So it's the same problem. We're saying that the whole Mishnah should be one opinion. And there's actually three parts to it. And the first and the last part are Rebbe, and the middle part is the rabbis.
So it's a big mess. But why is the Mishnah in such a... Why is the Mishnah doing that? Okay. Reisha and Seif is Rebbe, and in the middle you have Rabbanan. So you have a Rabbanan sandwich. Okay, what?
The Gemora just contradicted itself, because it just got done showing that the first case, which it's now calling the Reisha, has two parts, and the beginning part is Rebbe, and the ending part is the rabbis. Now it's saying that the whole first part is Rebbe.
Said before, the Reisha is Rebbe.
Right, but when it said Reisha and Seifa before, it was dividing the first paragraph in half. Now it's viewing the first paragraph as a unit, it seems to me.
Reisha and the Seifa is Rebbe, and in the middle of that, it's Yasa is Rabbanan. What's inconsistent about that and what we said before?
Before we said that the statement, if you brought his pots in the courtyard with permission, the owner is liable. We said that goes according to the rabbis. But that is part of the first case, the Reisha. So how can it now say that it goes according to Rebbe? The whole thing doesn't go according to Rebbe, only the first part of it goes according to Rebbe.
No, the Gemora just brought in the Su, that was the last line of the Mishnah.
Right?
Rebbe Omer Bakulan Eno Chayev Achi Kabbalah Baal Habayis Lishmor. So, in all the cases that we learned in the Mishnah, the Baal Habayis gives reshus to the potter to enter the premises with his pots. So, according to Rebbe, the owner of the premises will not be liable to pay for any damage that's done by his animal to the pots of the potter until the owner specifically states that he accepts responsibility to guard the guard.
Right. And that contradicts what it states in the Mishnah.
Well, it's consistent what it says in the Reisha, what we originally brought. That was the opinion of Rebbe.
No, because it says Baal HaChetzer Chayev.
He said,
For the Rebbe, he would only be Chayev if he explicitly gave accepted responsibility.
the Gemora said, Tsama, the reason why there is liability is because he came in without reshus. But if he came with reshus, he wouldn't be liable, the owner of the the owner of the pots. So the Gemora said we see a principle over here that we don't say that he automatically accepts responsibility to guard. Right? That goes like Rebbe. Right? Why is that not like Rebbe? That's the restoration.
It says that im hichnis l'reshus, if he came in with permission, Baal hachatzer chayev. The Baal hachatzer is obligated.
That's not the case that the Gemora mentioned as being the ratio. It's not the case of the ratio that the Gemora mentioned before. Take a look at what the Gemora says is the ratio. The diuk the Gemora made was on the liability of the one that's he came in without reshus. He's going to be liable, the owner of the pots. That's what the Gemara was talking about.
Right.
So the Gemara was medayek. Oh, if he came in with permission, though,
Right.
so then he wouldn't be liable for any damage his pots caused to the animal of the owner of the premises. So you see from that Min Stam, if he doesn't accept any responsibility, he's not responsible. That's Rebbe. So that's the part that the Gemara means, presumably, when it says Reisha is like Rebbe. The Reisha that we, from the case that we mentioned.
Right.
That case and the very last part, Rebbe Omer, that goes like Rebbe says the Gemara. But everything in the middle goes like Rabbona. That's what the Gemara is asking. The very first din and the last line of the Mishnah are like Rebbe, and everything in between is Rabbona. Thank you, Roy. Have a good day, Roy. All the best.
Thank you. Doing well.
See you tonight in Mitzvah Hashem.
I don't think you have to do that. I don't think it's on anyway. Is it the red ball on or the green ball?
Red.
Oh, that means that it actually is on.
You're on.
Okay, we're on.
Bye for now.
Okay. All the best.
All right. So the last line then is im hichnis reshus Baal hachatzer chayev. That's the last line.
The last line is Rebbe Omer. Rebbe Omer.
No, I'm sorry. I'm saying it says Rabbi Omer is what we're discussing, and it says that the Reish and the Seifa are like Rebbe, and the middle, the Emtza, is like the rabbis. Correct?
Right.
So I'm trying to understand when it says the Reish and the Seifa are like Rebbe. What's the Seifa? Is it the line that begins with Im Hiknis Rishus? That last, very last line, is that what it means by the Seifa? As opposed to Shalo Hichnis Rishuso.
The Gemara is referring to the parts of the Mishnah that it specifically mentioned in the last few lines. Right? It's not referring to anything that it didn't mention explicitly.
All right. So what does it say? It says Im Rishus.
Say the Seifa. In other words, this a little bit.
Oh,
That's not the safest now that the Gemara is referring to.
okay, so it's referring to the last line.
That's now I see what's confusing. The Gemara called that part of the Mishnah Seifa,
Right.
and now the Gemara says the Seifa is like Rebbe. Well, that cannot be, because the Gemara says explicitly that Seifa was Rabbanan. So you have to understand that when the Gemara now says Seifa, it means relative to the relative to what we said above. Seifa is referring to the very last line of the Mishnah that mentions about Rebbe. But it doesn't refer to what the Gemara called Seifa before. The Gemara says Ema Seifa. It says that goes like Rabbanan. We're not going back on that. That's clear, because that's the we're clear about the views of Rabbanan and Rebbe.
Right. Okay.
Gemara is just pointing out that the Reisha, and when it says Reisha, it means the first case that the Gemara mentioned.
Right, so we can.
The deal that the Gemara made. The Gemara made a deal.
Right.
That when the potter comes in without reshus, so that's when he's going to be liable for damage. But if he came in with reshus, the implication comes out from the Mishnah that he would be putter. So you see, he doesn't accept reshus, he doesn't accept responsibility.
Right.
That goes like Rebbe. So when the Gemara says Reisha, it's referring to that case that the Gemara said was going like Rebbe. So that first case of the Mishnah goes like Rebbe, and the last part that says Rebbe Omer is going like Rebbe too. But in the middle is Rabbanan. And that includes the case that the Gemara previously called the Sefer.
Right. Okay. That helps. That was confusing.
Okay, Shvaya.
All right, thank you, Rabbi. See you too, Mitzvah Hashem.
It's Hashem. We shall be here in the air-conditioned grounds of the basement.
Actually, they have it off upstairs. They have all the windows open, but it doesn't help because it's 32 degrees outside.
No, but it seems to be cooler in Jerusalem today. It's not quite so hot, but it seems to be breeze.
Cooler where?
On the bus station, it's cool.
The bus station?
It's cooler. Outside the bus station, it's cooler. It doesn't seem bad today. It's not overtime. 32 isn't really hot. Or like when you get to the 60s. Without any humidity.
32 is very hot for me.
Oh,
Here's to the weather in California.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, are you a native of California, Lou?
No, I moved there in 75.
Oh. We visited.
Pardon?
We visited.
I lived there long enough that I got used to the balmy weather. Where I lived, I was a mile from the ocean.
Oh,
So it
yes.
was very self-driven. I never got much above 80.
Did you live in Northern California or Southern California?
Southern. Santa Monica, near Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, that's really on the coast. So that's a big
Yeah, Santa Monica is on the coast. Yeah, I had a killing in my house.